So today we will try to discuss a little bit about how the understanding of the two truths, the reflection on the law of causality, has an impact on our daily life. And it does, there is no doubt, because the correct understanding of what the two truths are and of the law of causality do change the way we are perceiving things, the way we consider our reality, the way we interact with this reality. So when we are talking about the two truths, we are talking about the ultimate truth and the conventional truth. So the ultimate reality and conventional reality. When we refer to the ultimate reality, we are talking about the nature of things. We are talking about the ultimate nature of all things, of all phenomena. Everything we think we are included into these phenomena. And to understand it well, actually, we need to come back on the law of causality. We need to reflect on the law of causality, meditate, analyze what means causality, karma. What means that all perceived phenomena are the result of causes we have accumulated ourselves. So each consciousness perceiving phenomena has created the causes to perceive them. If the causes to perceive this or that phenomena would not have been created, we would not perceive it. So everything which is in our reality is on the basis of causes we have accumulated in the past. And this is something we should repeat ourselves, repeat often, because spontaneously it doesn't come to our mind. Spontaneously, we believe phenomena to exist from their own side. Like if the chair, the table, the TV screen, and all things would have their own existence, would have been created simply by physics, that the material has been carried here and there and shaped and burned and melted and taken a form and taking this made by little hands here and there to end up on your table or to end up in your living room, which is not untrue in a way, of course. Yes, things appears as made, constructed, built, yet they would not appear to us if we would not have created a specific cause to see them as they are. The TV would not work if we would not have created the causes for it to work. And sometimes actually we have not created the causes for the TV to work and the TV doesn't work, even though it was working the day before. The same with the car, the same with the websites, the same with everything. So everything is in a deep state of impermanence. And why it is impermanent? Because it has been created. I mean, the causes have been created for it to appear as it appears. Everything which depends on causes, is impermanent. Because when the effect of the cause ends, when the cause ends, then its effect ends as well. But there is a kind of mechanism within our minds, within our consciousness, which fight this kind of understanding. We believe things to be much less impermanent than they are, by fear, by attachment, by the way we grasp at phenomena, and we would like them to be far more existing for their own side, not depending on us. So whenever we see a phenomena, we think this phenomenon exists from its own side. It is outside of me. It does not depend on me. If it is stolen, then 100% the causes is outside. Somebody has entered the house and has taken it. I have nothing to do with it. If my car breaks or if I have an accident, how come that I would be responsible of it? It cannot be. It was not my direct responsibility. It was not my fault in a way. And the same when we see a certain amount of situations which do appear as unjust, or when we see an animal suffering, or when you see a child suffering, and we think, well, how could a child have created the causes for such suffering? He is so small, and he didn't have the time in this life to create the causes for that suffering. Yes, it's possible. It's very possible that the causes are not from this life. What we tend to ignore, or what we do not remember quick enough, well enough, is that we are not coming with an empty luggage. We are coming to this life from a previous one that most of the time we don't remember, and even if we have some glimpse of memory, we don't see all what did happen and all the causes we have accumulated during that life, neither what we did accumulate in the life before and the one before, and so on. We have accumulated an unthinkable amount of causes. The causes we have accumulated is not just big causes, like you have killed somebody, or tortured somebody, or stolen something, or whatever. We are creating constantly causes, because the way we create causes is the way our mind works. Since we are contaminated by ignorance, every time we perceive a phenomena and we think this phenomena is outside of us, has its own way of existing inherently, independently from us, this is mistaken. Yet we have created an energy, we have created a thought, and every single thought has its own energy. Thus, create a cause, create a little seed somewhere on the stream of our consciousness. And seed by seeds, thousands, millions of these kind of seeds, giving results progressively. And each of these results being one of our perception, we are building up our reality. This is something we have difficulty with, because it goes against what we have thought since long time. Since beginningless time, we are creating causes, experimenting them, creating some new ones, and so on. Some positive causes, some negative causes, some neutral causes, which we experience on a daily basis. So on a daily basis, we get sometimes affected because we see an event, a situation, we hear somebody saying something, Some people are screaming, some people are cheating, some people are stealing, and this and that, and we get deeply affected. The way we are affected leads us to create often some negative causes, which we will have to experience again in the future. So it's a never-ending story. Never-ending, as long as we do not clearly identify the mechanism which is under this situation, and that we can deeply and in a long lasting way change our perception, our way to perceive the phenomena, or the way to perceive our conventional reality. Conventional because it is based on conventions, because it is responding, living according to some rules, to some basic rules, sometimes like gravity. As for all of us on this planet, if you throw something in the air, it falls down. And if it was hard, shaped, it falls on you, it hurts. Yes, so there are a certain amount of conventions. After the conventions covers also the names. Yes, what you are taking, which is holding liquid, eventually you might call it a cup or a bowl. Or a soup plate, according to the shape. But these are conventions. You see things in a certain way, you learn to recognize them and to name them like this or like that. The deep mistake which we are affected by is this understanding of the reality as existing from its own side. Yes. So because it is seen as existing from its own side, we react to it as if it is an external factor. And we are reacting in a nice way if we see something beautiful, or in an we will get attached, we will generate desire, or we will generate hatred or unhappiness according to what we see. And in such a way, we are maintaining constantly our creation, the creation of our reality. We are the creator of the reality we are perceiving. If we have a reality which we don't really like to see or to experience, we might be quite upset, either against the karma or against ourselves, which of course is pointless in a way. Pointless to react in a negative way, not pointless to understand that karma is the underlying force which bring into life all the causes we have accumulated in the past. So, of course, unless we have realized the true nature of phenomena, which imply to have realized emptiness, the emptiness of phenomena. So unless we have this realization, we perceive things as if they would exist from their own side. Yet, even if we have not reached that level of realization, we can modify the way we perceive and the way we are affected by what we perceive. This is basically what we are talking this afternoon, and this is what we are talking about since years and years, and we might still be talking about for years and years before we finally realize emptiness. This modification of perception and modification of reaction towards what we perceive is progressively activated by our meditation on emptiness, our meditation on the topic of the true nature of phenomena. Every time we do meditate, every time we do sit or reflect on the true nature of phenomena, we come out of it with a slightly different perception, at least for some second, or a little bit more. It will depend on our meditation, it depends on our concentration, it depends a lot also on the way we pacify our mind, the way we have pacified our mind. The more pacified our mind is, and the longer it can remain stable on some realization, on some understanding, at least before. So, thus, actually, the importance of Shine or other method for pacifying the mind. All this meditation, all this work we do on our mind to pacify the mind allows two things. The first is, of course, this stability of mind without too much ups and too much downs, and this capacity to concentrate on where we would like to place our mind. And the second thing that it allows through the pacification of the mind is actually to realize or to reach higher realizations like emptiness. Like bodhicitta also, yes, this highest state of compassion is reached when the mind is pacified. Topics like emptiness cannot be reached directly. It's not like just thinking logically about impermanence or thinking logically about how a project needs to be set or solved. It is not because we don't have a direct view on such topic. This is why actually we do not meditate on emptiness, despite the expression to meditate on emptiness. We do not directly meditate on emptiness because we don't know on what to meditate, because we have no background, we don't have an experience on which we can base that meditation. So at first, the meditation on emptiness is a meditation by negation. Negation of what? Negation of what we know. We know this conventional reality, we know how it works, we know how we perceive it. So we perceive any phenomena as if it would exist from its own side. This we can meditate upon. So we take an object, traditionally the cup. We could take the spoon, because as everybody knows, there is no spoon. So you can take any object and you try to find how it could exist from its own side. So you look at the cup, at the spoon, and you say, how does that cup exist? It appears as existing from its own side, but can it really exist from its own side? In which way, why, how, recalling all the teachings we have received already about this matter. The quick answer, of course, would be it cannot. You take the cup and you know that everything is based on causality, so that cup is truly based on causality, so that cup cannot really exist from its own side. It exists because I have created the causes for it. This is, in few seconds, a long process, actually, through which we need to go again and again, because even if we are already convinced about it, obviously we have not realized it. The day we realize it, everything changes in our mind, everything changes in our perception. So if after so many years of meditation and teaching on emptiness, we have not yet realized emptiness, it means that we are still on the way to ascertain that understanding. And the second thing which might be missing to really realize this topic is the stability of the mind. Because when we start an analytical meditation on the matter, you start to analyze, to recall the teachings, what you heard about this, about that. In the meantime, you might lose your concentration. So in the meantime, the mind will go to think about something else. And then you come back to your analytical meditation. And after a few seconds or few minutes, the mind will go to somewhere else and come back on the analytical meditation, and so on and so forth. Thus, not having the correct concentration, your mind cannot go deeper within your perceptions, within the way you perceive the conventional reality, within the way you could shake that perception. So what we are looking at is to shake that perception, that strong perception that things do exist from their own side, that things exist inherently. They do not. We know it. We know it intellectually, but we have not realized it. So we need to remind ourselves often and often as possible. That means few dozens of times per day, that what I'm looking at does not have any self-inherent existence. It exists because I have created the causes for. So the way I see phenomena right now is false. It's not as it is. It is mistaken because of my ignorance. By repeating yourself this, it already helps to create a little distance from what we perceive. Days after days, weeks after weeks, months after months, this reality is losing a little bit of its density, if you understand what I mean. It's not so obvious anymore that things have their own inherent existence, because you drop slowly and slowly the doubt, a positive doubt, upon this self-inherent existence. It might not. It might exist differently. It might exist really, as the teaching says, not having its inherent existence, but being the result of causes I have accumulated. So the cup I'm watching at exists conventionally within my reality currently, right now, this conventional reality. I cannot say that the cup does not exist. That would be foolish in a way. I cannot say that the car I'm driving does not exist at all. Then, what am I driving? It's borderline with insanity. So conventionally, I'm in a car and I'm driving the car. Just that. The nature of that car is not an inherent existence. The nature of that car is being the creation of causes I have accumulated in the past. Accumulated with what? Accumulated how? Accumulated with my mind. Of course, we say body, speech, and mind. But usually our speech and our actions is the result of our thoughts. We think usually before to speak or to act, though some people will wonder, but we can say that there is a process in this order. So ultimately we are creating causes with our mind. In this way, we can say that all what we perceive is the result of our own mind. It is of the same nature of my mind. It is perceived as if external to us, though it is a creation within, by and within my own mind. So of course the best way to relate to this kind of mystery is to remember dreamland, dream reality. When we are dreaming, what is happening? We are perceiving a certain amount of phenomena, very similar to this reality. We can feel, we can see, we can touch, we can experience pleasure or pain. We can see the cup. We can see the cup, we can see the table, the cup on the table, and so on. And when we perceive it, it appears as completely real. Within the dream, it is quite rare to ask ourselves if that cup is really existing or just a projection of my own mind. No, it is really perceived as an external phenomenon, self-inherently existing phenomenon. Though when we wake up, we understand it was not existing in this way. But it required that we wake up to understand it. Now, there are some dreams in which we can make the line between reality and dream a little bit more blur, and consequently meditate a little bit on the nature of reality within the dream reality. That's something else. But usually we perceive it as very real. And when we wake up, we understand it was not real at all. It was not real at all in the sense that it was all a creation of my mind. So ultimately, all what I did perceive during my dream time was empty of inherent existence. It has a type of existence during the dream reality, but when I wake up, it ceases to have this inherent existence of the dream reality. So this is the analogy we should remember, because it works basically in the same way within that current reality. What we see, what we hear, what we perceive, what we are the witness of, what we are so-called the victim of, is the result of what my own mind has created. I am not faulty in the sense of guilt or guiltiness. It is not useful to think in this way. It's not a question of fault. It's a question of responsibility. I am responsible for what I experience. Why? Because I have created the causes for. But it might have been created by my consciousness in a previous life, which means it was not really me. It was not the me that I know now, that I can analyze now. It was my consciousness, but my consciousness under another form, under another ego structure. So there is basically no fault to have regarding what we have accumulated in the past. Even regarding what we have accumulated in this life, I could say that guilt brings nothing. Guilt is not something constructive. It's a way simply to experience disturbance again and again. Regret is something else. We can regret to have made a mistake. We can see this or that situation and regret it. We say, oh, I should not have said this, I should not have done that because it was not right. It was not right at the light of my understanding, at the light of my ethical values, and so on. But it's past. At the moment you regret it, it is past. So you cannot change the past. What you can just is, through the power of regret, establish the wish, establish the engagement, inner engagement, not to repeat it again. So you realize that what you have done was not correct, but it's done. What can you do? What you can do is not to repeat it. Okay, this you can take the engagement to not commit again that situation. So regarding the karma and regarding the past accumulated causes, this is the way we should see things. We have an accident, we have a troubled situation, we have severe sickness, or our surrounding is affected by severe sickness and so on. It is not a question of fault. We are responsible for what we perceive, yes, but it is not a question of fault. That is an important point. If we remain in the guilt, and we are well trained to the guilt because the root of our Judeo-Christian society is guilt. One of the roots is guilt. So a lot of things from our childhood, school time, and everything was based on guilt. How to make us guilty in order to stop us to do this or that, or in order to give to the others this or that, and so on. We need to come out of it. Yes. Not to suffer uselessly, not to remain in a disturbed state of mind, including regarding what we have done in this life and all what we have done and we don't even remember from the past life, which gives the result we are experiencing today. So what we see today, the situation we are experiencing, and which can appear as quite negative or unpleasant, is not a fault. It's not a sin, yes, as the word is in the Christian tradition or other traditions. All right, so the better we understand the law of causality, the better we can understand the true reality. Because we understand that we are experiencing a conventional situation, whereas the true nature of that situation, the true nature of all the phenomena involved in that situation, is ultimately empty. Ultimately an illusion, a projection of my own mind. My own mind has created the causes for it, has created the seed, has designed what I will experience later, what I am experiencing now on the basis of the past, and so on. What I can do, nevertheless, all the time, anytime, is to change the way I react in front of what I perceive. So I am in this unpleasant situation. Instead of immediately react with anger or jealousy or disgust or whatever, before my emotions are jumping out, I need to reflect. I need to take a few seconds to remember my analytical meditation on the matter of emptiness. I need to remember that what I am perceiving is the result of past accumulated causes, that it does not have any self-inherent existence, and that I should not let my mind to be affected by it. Thus, creating this little space between what I perceive and how I react, I become progressively more in charge of my reaction. It's not anymore a kind of emotional ping pong. I perceive, I react, I perceive, I react, without thinking about it, without pondering upon it. I need to have this little time to do not have an emotional explosion, emotional firework. And this can be set also progressively by our meditation. Our analytical meditation, of course, the one that we have at home or in the Gompa or in any place, very peacefully sitting cross-legged with a little light, incense and so on. And the one that we try to establish wherever we are, whenever we remember about meditation. That can be walking from the office to the car, by walking in the field, by running behind a yak, or any other animals, or any other people. But at any time, sometimes we are just sitting on the toilet, and part of our mind would say, oh, I should not think about Dharma stuff and things like this while I'm on the toilet. I said, why not? If you have a slow intestinal process and you spend quite some time sitting on the throne, why not to think about it? Why not to use this time in a positive, constructive way? When we take a shower, it can take some time, and it is longer time in the winter because we use it to warm up. So we could also think about it, think in a different way, not just be, we say, mindless. It's not that we don't have a mind, but we are absolutely not aware of what is going on in our mind. We need to get back this awareness as often as possible, to be aware. My mind is perceiving. What am I perceiving? Why am I perceiving things the way I perceive them? So do not hesitate to ask yourself why you are perceiving things that you are perceiving as often as possible. And immediately when you enter into that way of thinking, the first thought, the basis is, it's wrong. It's wrong, not that yellow is not yellow and blue is not blue. It's wrong in the sense that I see things as if they exist from their own side, while they are not existing from their own side. So what I'm perceiving in front of me is a mirror of my own mind. I am perceiving outside, or what I think to be outside, phenomena which actually are appearing within my own consciousness. The feeling of distance is also a concept. The distance between two beings, the distance between me and the computer screen, is a pure illusion. It is part of the construct in which we are evolving on a daily basis, but which does not have any self-inherent existence. It exists because our mind is still fooled by it. So this is the work we need to do. And it's not a work that we need to do once a week. Clearly, this is not the work that can have a deep effect done only once in a while. If we want to change the way our mind works, we need to work on our mind constantly, giving it a different direction, giving it a different way of thinking. And the more we will be able to work on the mind, the quicker we will be able to change it. Yes? I hear a baby behind me. Okay. Well, I have turned around that topic. It does not require that we talk much longer. What is important is to think about this a lot, as much as possible, in order to have a real deep impact on our mind. All right? So, meditation on causality. How does things exist? Helps us to understand that there is a conventional perception, and behind this conventional perception, there is an ultimate truth. Ultimate truth in the sense that nothing exists from its own side. Everything exists on the basis of what causes I have accumulated. Thus, what I perceive on the basis of an illusion. It is an illusory perception. Yes? So I know we talked already about this topic, and it's surely not the end. We will talk again and again and again, because we need to talk about it, to remember about it, to meditate about it, to be aware about it. Yes, as often as we can. We simply forget about it. We are able to spend a whole day without to think in a Dharma way, without to ponder, to meditate on the nature of the reality we do perceive. And because we are not meditating on the nature of the reality we perceive, we take what we perceive as if it exists from its own side, and we react accordingly, getting emotionally disturbed by every little things we perceive. We are disturbed, so we are unhappy. We make the others unhappy, and we are creating the causes for unhappiness in the future. Is that really what we want? If not, then we need to change something. And the way to change that thing is by developing awareness about how thing exists. It is at the same time complex, of course, because it tackles all what we have believed into since lives and lives and lives. So it appears complex. And at the same time, it is very simple. In less than 1 hour, we have turned around it several times. So it's not complicated. It's complex, but not complicated. It's something that we need to acquire, absorb, intake, make one with. This is a kind of union we need to achieve, the union between yourself and this kind of wisdom, so that everything that is produced by your mind becomes source of merits, not source of disturbance. Yes? Okay, I will stop here. It is dense, yes, it is not complex. It is not so difficult to talk about or to understand, but it is dense. Dense in the sense that it touches so many things, because it touches our entire existence, basically. So it is dense. So we don't need to talk a lot about it. We need to remind ourselves the basis of it, which all of you know already, and to meditate upon it. Yes. Right now, you are in front of a screen, which is a production of your own mind. You are listening what you have created a cause to listen. And so you're good in a way, because if you understand something out of the blah blah I'm saying, that means you have created positive causes. I'm somewhere or nowhere or everywhere talking a little bit nonsense. And if you understand something out of it and it changes the way you perceive your reality, you have created wonderful causes. So I will let you to ponder on upon this illusory nature. And if I'm not mistaken, we have question and answer tomorrow at the same time. So if there is still something you have not fully well understood, get your question ready and come back, and we will go through them at the same time with the Gompa and all the other people from abroad connected online, because we can also get questions that way. Okay, and for those who will not be there for the question answer tomorrow, please remember that Tuesday is the New Year. One day before the New Year or 2 days before the New Year, it is good to clean the whole house to eliminate the dust of the past year. Remember, everything which is outside comes from inside. Yes, so clean outside thinking that you are also cleaning inside, that you are also bringing clarity and purity to your own mind, so that you can enter into this new year with a clearer mind, and hopefully that it remains clear during the whole year. So usually 1 day, 2 days before, we clean already the whole house. It's a good beginning. And while we clean the whole house, we think that we are cleaning the whole mind. And on the day of the Losar, and on the days which follows the Losar, do your best to practice more than usual. It is like if it is a Buddha day where you have a lot of karma multiplied. So benefit of this moment of the year where you can multiply a lot of merits, liberate animal, help the others, practice generosity, avoid the creation of any negativity, at least, or any harm to the others, if you can. And we always can, in a way or in another. If you are not vegetarian yet, be vegetarian, at least during these days. And after a few days being vegetarian, you will see that you are still alive, that you do not necessarily lack any energy. So maybe it will give you also the hint or the wish to continue. Voila. I wish you a good evening, and I see you, for most of you, tomorrow afternoon.